The conclusion of every officer who was there at the scene was that they had a duster on their hands, a person who was under the influence, PCP, or angel dust.
If the lawyers don't get along, can greatly complicate a trial.
His situation was one of fear and frustration, not pleasure in inflicting injury.
You don't do anything in one of these multi-defendant trials that hurts another defendant if you can avoid it.
And what happened next?
Then Officer Powell came up to the right of him, and in a matter of seconds, he took out his baton. He had it in a power swing, and he struck the driver right across the top of the cheekbone, splitting his face from the top of his ear to his chin.
Melanie Singer described 5 head blows that were given to King by Larry Powell with the baton. Well, there were no injuries consistent with baton blows on the face.
What happened next?
That time, after he had struck the driver, I believe, on the left side of almost his temple, Sergeant Coons said, "Stop, stop, that's enough, that's enough." And then another officer with dark hair and a mustache reached in and grabbed the baton and pushed it back.
And looking at that photograph, does that appear to be split open there?
There's a cut there, yes.
All right, and how long is the cut?
What I can see is about an inch, maybe less than that.
Well, you described in your earlier testimony, and then you just reiterated that the skin was split from the ear to the chin. Is that right?
I'm going to object. That states the evidence.
She just said yes.
Objection overruled.
And does that appear to be sutured in that photograph?
No, sir.
Does it appear to be split in that photograph from the ear to the chin?
No, sir.
Do you have any explanation for that?
I saw what I saw, sir.
Thank you. I believe the evidence will show that no head blows were delivered, certainly not in the manner described by Officer Singer. Baseball-type swings did not happen. Mr. King would not be alive today.
No, he obviously felt the pain at that time or felt something at that time. Second time.
Coon dropped him the second time with the taser. He goes down, no protective reflexes. He hits the pavement, and you can see his head bounce up.
Did it occur to you that he'd already been hit a number of times and maybe he was defenseless?
No, I did not perceive at all that he was defenseless.
Is there a justification for him being hit as many times as he was? Perhaps, yes, if you're looking at it from the perspective of what he was doing from the perception of the officers that were engaging him.
Do you believe that your officers did anything improper?
No, this was a managed and controlled use of force. It followed the policies and procedures of the Los Angeles Police Department and the training.
Excessive means that you are using more force than is required to do the job. Well, that never happened. He never, I'm talking about Rodney King, never gave up until the very end when he said, "Okay, I give." And that's when Coons said, "Okay, he gives."
It was important for the jury to hear that Powell had some difficulty with the baton during the roll call training, because it was important to see that what they were seeing on the video and the delivery of the baton strikes was not as effective as it should have been and could have been per the training.
After the event in 1991 in March, up through almost the beginning of the first trial, that videotape was shown almost constantly throughout the United States. But here's the worst thing about it, it was just the snippets of the worst part of the video. They didn't show King getting up and charging at Powell before he went down the first time.
All right, and you don't know whether or not Mr. King was subjected to excessive force before those blows that you first saw, do you? No.
We took the jury several times through the video to basically show that what they were doing was always in response to what King was doing, which is the way you defend one of these.
Describe your mental state at the time you were striking him.
I was completely in fear for my life, scared to death that if this guy got back up, he was going to take my gun away from me, or there was going to be a shooting, and I was doing everything I could to keep him down on the ground.
He was continuing to roll and move around and try to get to his feet. when the jury went out, and they were out for 7 days, during that time, in thinking about the trial and going over the things in my mind, talking with the other lawyers, I had a very strong belief that we were going to be okay on this one, that we would come out okay.
Have verdicts been reached on all other counts but this one count, and there's only one count in which the jury has not been able to reach a unanimous decision?
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Lawrence M. Powell, not guilty of the crime of assault by force likely to produce great bodily injury and with a deadly weapon,